This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
I'm going on the town, I'm looking for easy money.
And welcome back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, joined in studio today by Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with the Investors Group. And on Boomer Life today, we're talking about your financial future, and we're talking specifically about women and money. A well-thought-out plan for your financial future is an integral part of building the life that you want for both yourself and for your family. And Jim, before the break, we were speaking about some of the issues that women face when it comes to money and some of the challenges they face when making financial planning decisions. And we've heard and surmised that some women tend to take a little less risk than men, and also that women experience a bit of a lack of confidence with their investment knowledge. And I wanted to note that, Jim, you bring some pretty strong credentials and designations to the table when you're dealing with clients. How do you feel this helps you?
Well, Joanne, thanks for noticing, but you do raise a good point. As a financial planner, I've learned no one can know everything. My designations allow me to be aware of the other issues that can affect client lives. It allows me to be familiar with how professionals or other professionals can help and the challenges that they face. For the clients that I work with, they expect me to be able to bring forward issues and help them find solutions, even when they're non-financial. This is where I can bring my 26 years of experience to bear, and it really helps, I believe, set us apart from other advisors.
And Jim, you work in a number of areas that I might not normally associate with my financial planner. One example is divorce issues, another issues around family business, issues around wills and estate planning.
My core business is financial planning, but to do it well, you need a good understanding of what's going on in people's lives and an awareness of areas that may represent areas of risk that need special attention from other professionals. I think that to do financial planning well, Joanne, you've got to understand that life is made up of a number of moving parts. It's not just about the investments. It's not just about the insurance. It's about the elements that make up a person's daily life that can impact them in ways that they're not even aware of yet.
So I hear you talking about the big picture. So over the past several weeks, we've seen some increased uncertainty in the markets over Greece. And don't you think that this might have been a great time to have heard from your advisor?
Great point there. Incredibly powerful. Okay. And I'd love to talk more about Greece, and perhaps in another week, we might be having an entirely different conversation. Now, obviously, rates of return matter, but long-term relationships stem from trust, and trust is created by a comfort level that is supported by consistent communication. It helps to have a great chemistry with almost a no-hassle factor. I think clients work with me because I help them keep their focus on the plan rather than the markets. I can't be of much help if one of us overreacts to the highs and lows of markets.
So when we speak about the boomer generation, generally those born between the years of 1946 and 1964, and it's one of the largest and wealthiest generations in history. But what's really interesting is there's a lot of difference between all the people born in that 18-year span. Both of my brothers and myself fall into the category, but we're all very different people. So why is it so important to understand that generation?
Oh, perfect. Okay. The first 10 years and the second 10 years of this generation are very characteristically different. In essence, you have a generation that has two cohorts in it. Each generation is sort of defined by the events and conditions that happened in the world during their formative years, and that's roughly your teenage years. Take a boomer who's 51 and one who's 68. They view retirement very differently, and there's some pretty significant differences here. If this example was a couple, it would certainly have a bearing on how they view money or their investments.
That's a good point. And I can see how an awareness of generational differences and personalities can actually help an advisor build stronger relationships. So with that in mind, can I re-ask the question, why are couples reluctant to engage in planning for retirement?
When retirement is so far away, it can be hard for couples to envision it and focus on it. Her vision, his vision of retirement, sometimes they're assumed, but they're never defined. But the sooner you start talking with your spouse or your partner, the better. Couples don't often share their financial issues and perspectives freely. You need to regularly reassess and update things, especially after a major change in your life or a financial situation. Often, where we provide the greatest help is by opening those lines of communication between partners. Then we can help them tie all the conceptual knowledge, the strategies, the timelines, and the expectations together, often starting with shared goals.
I sort of see this like scheduling date night in a relationship. You need to put that on your calendar and schedule. We're talking about our financial issues on this day. And then on the next day, we're talking about our retirement plans. It's the life we lead. You have to schedule it. So for those people who are just focusing on their investments, I feel like they could be missing out on a lot. Once again, I think you've made it clear that couples need to talk openly about their perspectives and their goals and share that information.
Yes, I agree. Reaching common ground often involves acceptance, patience, and a willingness to engage. Discussing investment strategy before establishing goals and priorities, it just doesn't make sense to me. So let me give you some examples. Imagine a situation where one partner is a saver and the other is a spender, each trying to have the other see the error of their ways. Or a situation where the wife might assume that they'll sell the house to live closer to the kids and grandkids, while the husband would rather buy a cottage and fish. She might expect to run her business from the home and never fully retire, while he just can't wait to ditch his job. A situation like this can be highly emotional, and it's not an uncommon scenario in my practice. When it comes to making and understanding investment decisions, being able to see both sides of a choice or issue, even if it pains you, is important in all aspects of life, but especially when it comes to investment choices for today and tomorrow. With so much information available today, it's not very difficult to continually feed your uncertainty about choices you've already made.
I also find it really interesting because those goalposts move as you move through life as well. You may have talked about some of those views of retirement when you were getting married, and then, life goes on, you have kids. And if you talk about it again, people change over time. So what I see is there's a lot of emotion involved, and communication is key.
When clients come to see us, we get to see how past decisions have hurt investment portfolio performance, including things like trading too much or selling the winners earlier or the losers late. I think it's important to look at the experiences that have helped them shape their view of money and investments. I'm going to speak a little bit about my industry, but I think financial advisors need to frame investment decisions in a way that will increase the likelihood that you'll stick with your plans even when markets fluctuate. By reframing money matters in terms of goals instead of numbers alone, we help people better connect to what's important to them.
So in an effort to make better decisions, can you tell us once again why it's essential that both partners be engaged, financially speaking, with their planner? What do you feel are some of the biggest planning mistakes that couples make when it comes to retirement planning?
They don't talk about retirement until they're near it. They procrastinate until the end. They don't plan for speed bumps. People get ill, they lose jobs, become disabled, or get divorced. Or if you're in a business and you have a partner, those things happen to them. Then what happens to your business and ultimately your plans? It's about goal setting and working together and implementing the plan. That's the big part. If couples can get past their own money taboos and develop goals and perspectives together, they're more likely to achieve financial success.
You've mentioned this before, but being reluctant to talk about these issues can actually be a huge problem. Do you have like a short list of do's and don'ts?
I think it's important to understand that there will be a significant shift in your mindset at retirement. You go from an accumulator mindset to one of relying on your investments to fund your desired standard of living. I'd like to share a couple of suggestions for our listeners today. Okay? Don't assume you and your partner are on the same page. You may have different spending philosophies or financial goals, so it's best to talk over your money plans together. Here's a big one. Don't keep secrets. Making a big purchase without your spouse's input or keeping a debt a secret or undisclosed bank accounts can signal that you don't have trust in your partner. Another one, don't let one person control everything. It's fine for one partner to manage the day-to-day financial duties, but you should keep up to date on how your financial plan is shaping up. And lastly, do tackle your finances together if you want to understand each other's approach to money. And the last one, you touched on it before, schedule money dates.
That's great.
Talk about your portfolio over brunch or have a beer and bank account night. It's a low pressure a way to kind of check in on your finances. Figuring out how to get there from here, that takes planning. And for many people I work with, they get a huge sense of relief working with someone who's seen situations similar to theirs before many times. When unintentionally overlooking essential elements can hurt you, it pays to have access to experience.
So I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit here to one of our biggest fears in this whole situation about retirement is getting old and running out of money.
When I ask people about how much income they think they'll need for retirement, it can be a difficult figure to come up with. Ask about dollar amounts and from which sources, and I think most people feel a tinge of anxiety. Add in talk about inflation and what that might look or feel like, and that sense of certainty, it takes another hit.
So there's a lot more involved than just the numbers, and even the numbers aren't so cut and dried. This is why you need a plan. It's a way of putting all the variables on the table.
True. Even substantial wealth is no guarantee you won't burn through your fortune well before you die. Maintaining your standard of living without worrying about it, that's a big concern for most retirees. And it's true, richer retirees have more options to preserve their fortunes. However, they're also more likely to use the advice of a financial advisor. And I think that's part of the answer.
You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today we're speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with the Investors Group. Still a lot more to come in this discussion with Jim, including the unique planning issues owners face with family-owned businesses and how worrying about your investments can affect your investments. Next on Boomer Life on CL 650. And to learn more about Jim and how he helps financially comfortable Canadians, we invite you to visit his website, jimdoyle.ca, or please call him at 604-682-5431. We'll be right back.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.